This is the Inspection Pro Joe podcast, where we break down everything you need to know to grow a successful home inspection company. Join hosts Joey and Jake as they share insider knowledge and chat with the industry's best on how to take your business to the next level.
Welcome back to Inspection Pro Joe, episode 32. Today, Joey and I have with us Harmony Brown of Greenworks in Texas. So Harmony has an incredibly interesting story when we met her through IEB, and we're very happy to have you here, Harmony. Thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Harmony. I was so fascinated that when you got into business that you didn't even have a home inspector license, and yet you started a home inspection company. And I was just so intrigued by your story. I think me and you are very similar in age. So just what you've built in the last 10 years has been truly amazing and inspiring to me that, you know what, no matter what, you know, we're in a male dominated industry, female, male, young, old, you can build the business of your dreams. And I think you inspire a lot of people. And I know at IEB, a lot of people come up to you and want your attention. So thank you for giving us your time, and we really appreciate you being here.
Absolutely, guys. I love talking about this stuff. Love sharing. I think that our industry has so much potential that we are still just starting to see what's going to come of this over the next, couple decades. So I'm thrilled.
Yeah, heck yeah,
absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about, what made you get in the home inspection industry, a little bit about your background, your story, and what's your secret and why you've built such a successful company.
Yeah, sure thing. My story is a little unique in it that I was basically looking for an opportunity to get started in something that I would love. But I didn't start out just waking up one morning saying, hey, how do I go find something that I love? That wasn't the case. It was really out of several stints of failure. One of the failures being not picking a major that I could fall in love with and picking a career that I could do while I was in college. I like to tell people I spent 5 years in college searching and trying to find what I wanted, and I just wasn't able to find anything. So I said, okay, look, I'm running out of money. This isn't working. I got to do something else. By the time I got to that 5th year, right? And so I'm like, well, why don't I join the military? Because I know that they'll pay for school. I can go in as an officer. I can travel the world, and I can still study while I'm figuring things out. Because I don't know, it's amazing. Like, even I had friends of the people who knew what they wanted to do, when they were like 10 years old. And I'm like, that is so incredible. Like, I am not one of those people. Everything sounds good to me. I'm like, oh yeah, be an accountant, or oh yeah, be an interior designer, or oh yeah, be an astronaut. All that sounds great, right? Like, yeah. And so finding a place to really lay down roots, it's tough sometimes when you're really young. So that was my plan, and it should have worked, only it didn't work. Because at this time, I'm one of these entitled young millennials that think the world should be handed to them. Everything should be easy. Why not why don't I just have this already? I've earned it. I'm working hard. I'm over here studying 2 hours a day, really believing this stuff. Right. And the truth of the matter is that's not true at all. Let's be real. You guys know, I know, right? You got to put in a lot more work than that. And I just wasn't showing up. There's no other way to say it. And my attitude was in a completely different place too. I really find that where people kind of are and their attitude starts to show in their lives. And in mine, everything I was touching wasn't working because I was never working hard enough. So long story short, I try to get in. I don't get in. And I'm stuck with this failure of this again. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, time to get some sort of job. I don't get a job, and I'm literally applying everywhere. No one's hiring. Yeah. This is 2009, right? So things are, really bad, and I'm panicking. I'm stuck. But I'm online and I'm searching, right? At least, and I'm devastated, but I'm searching. And I run across, some Google searches, like I'm out there, just looking, and I run across one of these little ebooks online, and the guy is literally like, hey, I'm searching, how to find your passion, how to find, a career that you can do from home, that kind of stuff. And literally, the guy's like, here's how to do it. What do you like to do? And I'm like, what are you talking about? What do I like to do? I like to watch TV. Like, are you kidding me? I'm 23 years old. Like, that's what I like to do. But he did such a good job of being like, okay, even if you like something that you find to be menial, video games, lounging around in the sun, but what doesn't matter, what about it do you like?
Yeah.
And that sent me on this path of like, well, here are the shows that I like. Oh, I like watching these, HGTVs, and I like watching all of these home building shows. And I'm going, huh? And it's like, what about that do you like? And on this path of discovery, I realized that I really like real estate.
Yeah.
That's awesome, right? So it's like, oh, okay. Well, if I like real estate, well, what kind of careers are in real estate? That sends me on a search. I find out there's the top 4, we got the mortgage, we got appraisal, we got realtor, we got inspection.
Yep.
I went through all 4 of them until I finally got to inspection, and I went, and I crossed off all the other ones for different reasons. Can't do mortgage. I'm not good at math. Can't be a realtor because I can't wait on a commission. I don't think I'm going to really be that great at sales. I need a paycheck tomorrow. Like, what are these people talking about? And appraiser, like, you can't just become an appraiser. That's a really hard thing to do, actually. Come to find out, and you need a degree. So I went, inspections. Okay, what are these guys doing? And the guy, again, on this book, I'm not taking credit for this. He literally was like, call the people of a career that you think you want to do. Just call them up and see what their life is like. I call up, so I follow it. I'm just doing what the thing tells me to do, following my instructions. And I call, and he's like, and I'm like, well, tell me what your day's like. And he's like, well, I get up in the morning, I go out to some realtor offices, I try to, pitch them on my services.
Yep.
If I'm lucky, I then have an inspection in the afternoon. If I have an inspection in the afternoon, great. And then I go home and I get up and I do it again the next day. And I'm like,
that sounds easy.
Like, hey, like, what do you mean? Like, why are you spending the whole morning going around to realtor offices selling yourself?
Yep.
Like, that just seems so odd to me. Because number one, I already know in my mind that that's a really hard thing to do, is try to think about it. Most people get to go to a job and do their job all day long. But the inspector's not getting to inspect all day long because he's got to go over here and try to sell himself in the morning. And then, do you get paid for any of that time? No, you don't. You don't get paid for any of that time, right? You're just trying to get a job. So I thought, it seems weird. It seems odd. I didn't, I literally thought that guy was like weird. And I literally called a few more and they all were saying the same thing. Yeah. And I went, this is a thing. These inspectors really do have to go get their own work. Yeah. Now tell me anywhere else where it's like that, right? I mean, the realtors have to do it, but they're paid gobs and gobs of money for that. That makes sense to me. But when you're talking about $300, $400, $500, $600, that's really not fair or worth it. It's just not. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So that's it hit me right there. I was like, this can be it. This can be my thing. I can get work for the inspectors. Yep. And then if I get work for the inspectors, then I am going to be able to keep some for me. The rest goes to the inspector. And that, it was as simple as that for me to begin. Sounded great. Sounded easy. It was way harder than I thought. But that's where it began. And
so you realized that's where it began. And then how'd you transition? Because you didn't do inspections or get your license till after you already had people working for you. So where did you go? Where did you turn? What was your next steps that you took to?
So next steps in terms of actually just getting the inspectors right. So it was about finding quality inspectors that I thought could do a quality job. So really, I could do research and see, okay, here are their reviews on Angie's List, right? Here are their reviews on Home Advisor. Okay, people are liking you. Then you go out and meet them and say, hey, look, if I come to you with the job, will you be able to do it? Well, yeah, of course I can do it, right? Because they're going to take it. Okay, no problem. And then I would literally, I go on this path of trying to get work, which takes me a very long time, right? You guys remember me saying I spent 15 months just trying to get my first client. Very hard time. But I was just determined to not quit this time and not fail this time, because I was so tired of failing. And so just pure perseverance, pushing through that, and then saying, okay, I'm going to do this. I do it. I get my first job. I swear that first client, was a $90 inspection. Wow. Horrible. I had to give it all to the inspector. I got nothing out of it. But that's okay, right? Because I literally was like, I'm going to go out here. I'm going to meet this person. I'm going to talk to him. Right. And in this 15 months, I am learning, right? I'm educating myself. I'm reading. I'm learning about sales and marketing. I'm understanding about clients, and I'm trying to figure out how to get a client. I still to this day have a special place in my heart for just, can you get the client? Can you get clients? Can you get clients? Because if you can get clients, you're always in a good spot. You can always figure out the rest of your business.
Yeah.
So that's where it began. But once I got those inspectors going, so basically it was a 1099 relationship, essentially, right? In the very beginning, it's just me going out and getting you work. But then once I got enough jobs coming, because it slowly grew, I got my second client 4 months later. That client loved us. I was going out there. I'm standing there watching, paying attention, chatting with the client, trying to learn and understand, hey, what is it that's going on in real estate today? What is it like going through a home buying experience? I'm asking all these questions, right? And I'm just there to be the towel girl of the inspection, if you will, right? That worked very well, though, because I was there to go grab the inspector water. I was there to go get the client coffee. I didn't care. I would do anything. And I built these relationships. And this client was, of course, happened to be an investor who knew other investors, started using us. That became a big thing for us, where we were able to then take the relationships and continue to grow them.
I love that.
And it literally built from there. So after I had enough clients, where I could fill up inspector for a week, I'll never forget, I call up my guy and I'm like, hey, I had three guys that I like, but of course, you have your favorites. And when they were getting busy, because now we're getting into 2011 by now, they're getting busier and they're not able to go out and do inspections when I want. I'm like, this isn't working. I'm going to have to hire someone.
That's awesome.
So I hired my first inspector.
So it just kind of grew organically, and fast forward to where you are now. Yeah. I guess the secret is relationships, but how do you get those relationships, and then how do you cultivate it? Do you still send people out on those inspections with the inspector?
No, man, that would be awesome. I genuinely think that we're actually trying to figure out how to deepen our relationships again with our clients. We really teach our inspectors to cultivate these relationships themselves on our team, right? Because they are the ones there in front of them. So we want them doing it right now. In terms of how do we still continue to keep the client's first mindset? I mean, it's one of our core values. So we're absolutely determined and focused to stay in that world. It's just the elevate, right? It's like things are always evolving, things are always changing. What buyers need from year to year, it does change, right? And so we're trying to keep up with that as best we can.
So it's a core value, so everybody's involved in that. I think that's very key. That's even more key than just having a relationship person. You're bringing everyone in. It's like almost like everyone's a marketer. Everyone's a relationship builder within your company. And that's so powerful. And that probably speaks to why you've grown the way that you have.
Absolutely.
So how many inspections 100%. Are you doing a year now from when you started?
Yeah, sure. So last year we did around 8,600 inspections. Wow. This year we're on track to do close to 12,000. So we're doing pretty good. We set big goals, and we want to hit them. But
what does that structure look like to grow almost 4,000 inspections in a year? What for those that want to do that or want to emulate you, or how do they do that?
I mean, seriously. So first thing to do to absolutely get started, you got to build a team of awesome inspectors. I will say this to anybody. Your first 3 inspectors, those are your most important hires probably in your entire company that you'll ever make. You've got to have the right inspectors, because the right inspectors, they will be the model inspector of everything that you're going to build from there on. And really what happens is they turn into your leaders. Right. So first you're teaching them and you're getting them to, understand the culture, know the inspection, live out your client's first focus, and then they're able to then
That's
turn around
awesome.
and train others. So what starts to happen, of course, right? Because that's how we were. It took us 6 years to get to 6 inspectors. But then once I had those core 6, we were kind of unstoppable at that point because they turned around and trained, right? And then you start to multiply much faster because you have all of these amazing inspectors and they can then turn around and train others.
That's huge.
So from my perspective here, and having heard you speak at IEB, I think that one of the keys to your growth and being able to keep your finger on the pulse is your mindset of learning. So we even just heard it back at the beginning where you're talking about, I had a $90 home inspection and the money went all to the home inspector, but that's a learning experience for you. It was worth it because you were able to learn. Sure. And so I'm wondering, at the beginning with the reading of the books and really just diving into the industry and learning, how valuable do you think that mindset is? And it seems like, has that mindset stayed with you? Are you still always in the learning phase? All right, we're learning as much as we can so we can iterate and adapt and, be a successful home inspection company tomorrow, not just today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Learning is absolutely key. And it's not just about learning because you have to take what you're learning and you have to go apply it. And it's really scary. It's really scary, right? No one likes to do new things. No, people don't. I'm sorry, we don't. We don't like because what we're doing is already working. Yeah, but it's just working today. Is it going to be working in 5 years? No, it won't be. Like the reality is what's working now is not going to be working 5 years from now. So we have to be willing to take chances and make mistakes, which is why we have another core value of inspire innovation in our company. Because if we're not willing to make mistakes, if we're not willing to stumble and have to pivot and go, okay, we tried that. It didn't work. No problem. We've learned from it. Here's what we know now. Right? We learn more as human beings from our failures and our setbacks and what doesn't work than we do from our wins. That's the truth. Because I can go into anyone's inspection business and I could tell them right now, 80% of your success is coming from a couple things that you're doing right in your business. And then you've got these other things in your business that you're dabbling in and you're playing with that you think maybe will work or won't work, and you just kind of half and you're and it's not really a true part of your business. Well, you got to get intentional about that stuff. Either really get into it and try it out and then say, okay, yes, that works, and then throw it to the side, or don't, right? Or stay focused on the 80%, that big 80%, one or two things that's really working, and drive that further. Right? Because you can always deepen the things that really work for you. Like we are really good at referral marketing in my business. We understand how to get in front of a client and then turn that client into another client. That's just something that we're good at, right? It's the same way that we can multiply inspectors in our company by recruiting more inspectors and training more inspectors, and then giving these inspectors who now come to Greenworks, they have a better quality of life than the guys who came to work here 3 years ago did. They're reaping all the rewards of that immediately, and it's awesome that we get to do that. But I've told them, I'm like, in 3 years, you're going to be creating opportunities for the inspectors that are going to be here 3 years from now. You're going to be like, why did they just get it? Well, that's how it works, right? Like you're laying the groundwork for the next group. Same thing in business when we understand really what's working, right? What's truly working to get ourselves more clients, and focusing and understanding, do you go wider? Do you go deeper? You got to study all of that stuff and truly pay attention, right, to what is working and what's not working, but don't be afraid of making mistakes.
And how important would you say expanding territory is? Is that part of the massive growth? Not staying in your one city or your one little territory where you started, but that's when the real growth started to happen as well, once you had the key components in place.
Yeah, so it, again, depending on the business and what they're trying to do is really important, right? Because like for us, like we want to build a large business, like that is our goal. So we've always known that geography was going to be a part of the game for us, and expanding it, right? That has absolutely helped us for sure. But I will still say our core starter market, we still haven't gotten to full blown as we can. Like we only have 5% market share of our core market, right? Yeah. So that's still pretty small. I mean, honestly, like easily. We think we could reasonably get that to double. But we would need to double the size of our inspection team to be able to double it, right? So we're going, well, that's kind of tough to do. It gets harder. It gets harder when you get past 10, 15, 20 inspectors in one market. If it's a large metroplex like Dallas, Fort Worth, that gets very difficult, right? So expanding and being a smaller player in more geographical areas is easier. Like it is actually, it would be much easier for me to go to Salt Lake City and put 5 inspectors there than it actually is for me to add 5 inspectors here in my home market of DFW. It's amazing. I don't know why that is. So yes, geography absolutely has helped us with our growth plan. But we've had infrastructure for that, right? So we came in with that mindset and said we wanted to be that.
And how does your structure, like in your core market, what's the structure of your company look like? How many team leads? How many growth officers or what does that look like for those that want to grow a big company like to your size?
Yeah, for sure. So our model with the team leads is so 1 inspector, and then that inspector has 6 to 8 inspectors under them that they're basically in charge of, right? So they take care of them, train them, groom them, and then honestly equip them to be the next gen of the leaders, right? So that's our model. Growth people, we can get 1 growth person because the inspector is also a part of growth in our business, if you remember. So we don't have to have a lot of growth people. I can get 1 growth person for every 12 inspectors. Because if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, we really should be working on retention activities. Like my growth person focuses a lot on the retention, right? It's all about, hey, calling that agent and saying, hey, how did our inspector do today? And then, by the way, if you're liking our service, do you have any friends, right, who would be interested in using us? So we're always trying to, I kind of talked about this a little bit, is leverage the relationship, right? Where if I'm doing a good job for you, Greenworks' mindset is that you should be willing to share that I did a good job with you to 1 or 2 others. And then those 1 or 2 others, notice we're always trying to multiply, right? So that 1 has turned to 2, then turns to 4, then turns to 8, then turns to 16, then turns to 32. And then people wonder how we're growing so fast. It started with 1 agent, but now I've turned that 1 agent into 32 agents. Then then they have clients, right? And so it starts going really, really quickly. That's the power. That's the power. And in real estate, you can do it because everybody needs good people on their team, right? Yeah. Like there is no such thing as, oh, I'm a successful brokerage, or I'm a successful even contractors, and I don't need people. No, the better people are and the more success they have, the more of a network that they need around them. And so if you're able to get into those networks and provide value into their network, they're going to be happy to not only continue to use
That's
you,
awesome.
but then
and
tell
so from an inspection standpoint, and I'm more interested in this for my own business, is how are the inspectors going out and duplicating that, or asking the client to refer them to? Is it just a simple question? Is it doing a good inspection is part of that, but what really, how do you get them involved in that?
Well, number 1, it starts from a mindset, right? So my inspectors are absolutely trained and taught and really focus on themselves, like they're like who they are, like they need to be their authentic self, and they need to show up in their own authentic way. And so we're Greenworks wants to inspire and try to give them whatever tools that they need to show up as their authentic selves and just connect with the client, right? They know that they're there to educate. They know that they're going to give some bad news. They know that sometimes they can give good news. But they're not trying to be anything other than honest about their opinion of the home. And they use authenticity and honesty to their advantage. And then they're very upfront. They're very upfront and open. Hey, I'm an inspector. I work at Greenworks. This is what I do for a living. Tell me how I did. I mean, right? You can use whatever script that you want, but people love being able to give someone open, honest feedback. So then we get the open, honest feedback, and then we take that and we're using it to grow and get better, right? So they're sitting there listening to that, and it's like, well, you could have done this and you could have done this. Okay, that is amazing. Like, thank you so much. Because again, we learn, right, from someone actually saying, well, you didn't look at my grandma over there much. You were just kind of talking to me, the realtor, and, but did you know that it's my grandma over there that's actually buying the house? Whatever, right? Whatever the feedback is. And then we're taking it, we're learning, and then that inspector then says, if I had done that better, would you have given me a referral to someone else if someone else mentions that they're looking for a home inspector? And the client said, well, yeah, absolutely, I would have. But even just the letting them educate us is actually amazingly powerful, because now what it does is it deepens the relationship. This client's now sitting here going, hold on, the guy just asked me would I use him if he looked over at my grandma, right? But what does that do?
It's powerful.
It's powerful. And they end up giving you the referral. Yeah.
Even when you, I was going to say, even when you mess up, they're like, wow,
by opening
they're really great.
Yeah. So that just shows there the power of the open communication. You're opening up that feedback loop, and not only are you forming great relationships, but selfishly you're learning, and you can adapt based on your prior performances. That is really impressive. That's smart.
Thank you. Yeah, we really like it. It's almost this like stop believing that you actually need to be perfect. The cool thing in the world now is we don't want to see perfection anymore. We don't even believe in it, right? None of us do. Like anything that looks too perfect, if you've got 10,000 5-star reviews and not one single 1-star review, we all know that's fake. Sorry, it is. Yeah. Like no one can serve 10,000 people, and every single one of those people thought you were perfect. Not possible.
Yes.
It's a law of numbers. Yeah, so people are looking for authenticity in the service industry. They're looking for it everywhere. And when they have a space where they can do that, and we can be honest. I mean, we'll say, hey, look, this is something I'm really working on. Thank you so much. Like, I love hearing the feedback. I'm going to continue to try to do better.
Yeah.
You guys were amazing today. Call me if you need anything. I mean, like, that's what our inspectors approach. I mean, they just say what needs to be said, and they allow people to have that moment. And that moment is incredibly captivating. And people remember us. They really do.
I think it's very important to not, worry too much about being perfect, because when you're worried about being perfect, you're not going to start the next thing. You're not going to get into the next thing, and you have trouble giving up control. And I can see that right from the get-go, you were all about learning, and you were okay with giving up the control so that you could grow your business and include more people in it. So I'm wondering then, how do you get that buy-in to that mindset? Does that start, right at the interview process, or is that something that's just baked into every aspect of your business that you're able to get the buy-in from the inspectors?
Yeah, it does have to start at the interview process, right? Like, we're looking for a very unique culture fit for our business, right? Because it's not normal to be able to openly ask someone, hey, will you tell me what I did wrong? Like that, it's weird, right? And inspectors have a tendency to be perfectionists. And there's nothing wrong with perfectionists. We have lots of inspectors that are perfectionists. But at the end of the day, even at a perfectionist level of work, there's still always somewhere that improvements can be made, or just the communication, right, that was given to the client. Like some people prefer to like walk around the home and see things, right? Some people, they just want to stand there and they just want you to pull up a couple photos on your phone or on your iPad and show it to them, right? So they're not wanting to do all that walking around stuff. So understanding and being able to read clients is something that even an inspector who's an amazing inspector, it's how well are you relating to the client? Right? How well are you being able to read and understand what their needs are? Because we continue to learn, and we're continuing to see that an inspector that's able to connect will actually be liked more and will be referred more than the inspector who knows everything. If you know everything, but you can't get that information across, or people just don't like you, it's not going to get us.
And Harmony,
So
how
it
does
does
it?
start. It
How
does
do you
start at the
continue that? Why inspectors, like for seasoned inspectors that continue to grow within your company, how are you reiterating that to them? Because I know from even our inspection company, you tend to get in your routine and you kind of maybe lose focus. How do you keep them focused on that goal? I know you said it's one of your core values, but what actionable things are you doing as a business to make sure everybody's always on the same page, always in tune, and always moving the company forward in that direction?
Absolutely. Well, a couple things. Number one, so it's in it. We're very inspector led, right? So the inspectors themselves, everyone who is a leader today,
Okay.
they are trying to build the next set of leaders underneath them, right? Like that is their goal. Like their goal is to literally, like if they want to climb and they want to continue to advance
Perfect.
at Greenworks, they have to create new leaders underneath them.
Love it.
Right. And there is no such thing as too much leadership, because we're actually learning that the thing that's holding us back the most is lack of leaders. We just literally don't have enough of them. And we know that. So this is something that we've had to turn and really focus on, because we don't want to make anyone be stuck in a position forever. Like we don't. Like I want it to be that, hey, if you want to be doing this year, but you want to be doing something else next year, let's be able to do that. So creating leadership is one of the big things that we have to do well. Another thing that we're having to do is we have to have regular talks and regular conversation. So that way we're all meeting together and we're having these open, honest, hey, here's what we think is working. Here's what's not working so well. We think we can improve here. And we're doing that openly together, and we're sharing, and we're not just keeping it. It's not like, oh, we keep it behind some, veil and make people think that, oh, everything's perfect. No, we're very open and honest with our inspectors. We're telling them, here's what we think we need to do better. We think that we're taking way too long training on fireplaces. Like we do not understand why we're getting so many, callbacks about, fireplaces. I'm just making up something, of course, but you get it, right? Yeah. And so we'll say, what are your ideas? And there's a ton of buy-in because the inspectors are leading these conversations. They know that they can speak up. They know that their voices are going to be heard, and we're really going to go out there and we're going to go try it. I mean, they've got to say something really bad and, and just ridiculous for us not to be willing to try it. And we make a lot of mistakes. It takes a lot of time, but that's okay. We would rather, for us, I would rather have the buy-in of the inspector to know that we were willing to try something out, and them know like, oh my gosh, like did they just really listen to me? I've only been working here 2 months. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, we really listen to you because they've got fresh eyes, as far as I'm concerned, right? And that's our mindset. And so we really drive that forward because we know that one thing may work over here, something else may work over there, but it's a cultural thing, right? So that's the biggest key. When people are trying to implement growth mindset into their business and they want all their inspectors to get into a growth mindset, it really starts with the culture. What are you saying to them on a day-to-day basis? How do you praise them? Are you only praising for the 5-star review? Okay, that's nice, but what are they learning from that, right? So you gotta be intentional about, hey, look, I see here that you got this wrong on your report. That's okay. How are you? What were you thinking here? In terms of like, were you trying to explore something new? Yeah. Do you think that we could work on that comment? Can we make this better? Did you go watch something on YouTube and now you're saying, hey, maybe we can modify the way that we're looking at water heaters? Can we learn something? Is there a new tool out there? Whatever, right? It's the way that it's approached.
You can just tell you're an incredible leader and you've built an incredible team of leaders that are crushing it. And I think it's just, it's all mindset, right? And it's amazing to hear you speak. So I'm sure our listeners are getting tremendous value out of this.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but we need to take a moment to hear a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
The home inspection industry is highly competitive, and you need an edge to stay on top. You certainly can't afford to give profit away for no reason. But what if I told you credit card processors may be overcharging you and robbing you of profits you've worked hard to earn? It's time to put an end to being overcharged for payment processing. It's time to take back your profits. That's why we put together a free report, How to Avoid Being Overcharged by Your Payment Processor. Head over to takebackyourprofits.com, download the report, and put an end to being overcharged for credit card processing. You've worked hard for your sales, and you deserve to keep it. What are you waiting for? Go to takebackyourprofits.com and download your report today.
All right, Joey and I are back with Harmony Brown, and so far this has been, an incredibly educational and inspiring series or episode here. And so when we started this series, the whole reason was to bring the business aspect of home inspection into the forefront and provide some education and entertainment with it. And we're definitely getting that today. So what I'm wondering, Harmony, to wrap it up, we really want to get into, all right, if you're a home inspector and you're turning off this podcast and you want to go grow your business and you're inspired by Harmony, what is it that you should be doing or maybe shouldn't be doing?
Yeah, if I were you, and if you wanted to take some quick advice from me, for say today, let's talk some action steps for today. Number one thing, you need to listen to the phone calls. I cannot tell you how many business owners never listen to their own phone calls. You've got to hear what the client's actually thinking and what are they saying? What are they asking? If there were one thing I could tell you to go do right now, spend 1 hour doing it. Spend 1 hour listening to client calls. It is going to open your eyes. Whoa, you're going to learn something. You're going to learn something. You're either going to learn, oh my gosh, I didn't know people even wanted that. Or you're going to be like, oh, hold on. The call center is telling them what? Get the recorded calls. If your calls are not recorded, you have to start recording your phone calls, right? Because then that lets you have an archive to be able to go back and listen to them later. So I don't care if you've got your phones outsourced or you have it in-house. Doesn't matter. You want to have those calls recorded so that way you can always go and listen to them. That's a big thing, number one. You're going to learn something right there, and you're going to be able to take away and do something from that. Your clients in your market have particular needs. The only question is, are you meeting those needs or not? You believe you are because your schedule's full, but that might not necessarily be true, right? Because it's a rising tide, like things are crazy, like some people's markets are just nuts. Some people's markets are actually kind of slow, and we're doing lots of walk-in talks and not really getting full inspections because they're waiving the inspection. I don't know what's going on where you are, but no matter what, their clients are getting on the phone and they're telling you. If you listen to them, you're going to get farther. You're going to get farther. So that's one thing. Thing I would say to stop doing immediately is stop seeing your competition as a threat and try to start learning from them. We're all in the same industry and we're doing the same thing and we're all just trying to serve the client. And to be honest, most people in this industry have huge hearts. They really just want to take care of their families just like you do. And there's more than that we can all achieve by coming together and learning best practices from each other and raising the industry as a whole than looking at each other as enemies. We're not enemies. Really not, right? Every industry in the world has competitors, right? There's no such thing as being in business and not having a competitor. If it makes money, there's someone else who's doing it. That's fine. We just learn and grow together and speak kindly, right, of everyone, because you really never know who people are. That's another big thing is, right, always speak kindly, always lead with your values, right? Because listen, not every client's the right client for you. Not every client's the right client for us, So you don't ever want to speak negatively, right? And have that impact you and your brand in any kind of negative way. That would be my third piece of advice.
So when you started out, you talked about immediately right away, you got on the phone with people and you said, all right, home inspectors, what do you do? What's your day to day? How does it actually work? Right. And you learned from that and you were able to, adapt and do something even better. Right. You took it to the next level. So I'm wondering, is that something you still do? Do you still get on the phone with competitors and ask them questions or share advice? And is that still something that you hold near and dear?
Yes, but I do it in a formal, I'm a member of IEB, right? So I have lots of friends now in the industry, and we're talking. Yes, I'm in calls. And being a part of a community like that is amazing, right? So I'm speaking to them directly, openly on Zoom and on Facebook, things like that, asking the questions, and I still ask a ton of questions. So that's how I'm doing it now. Am I getting on the phone and doing it anymore?
How important has IEB been to your growth, and how long have you been a member of IEB?
It sounds like it works.
And IEB's been phenomenal. Okay. We grew. So when I came to IEB back in March of last year, so literally just March of last year, No, not long. We were a 38 person company. We had out of that, 21 inspectors, and the other 38 were, the rest of the staff, growth and operations, a couple engineers. Since then, we are at 110 right now. And out of that, 52 are inspectors. I mean, IAB has been phenomenal in our growth. I mean, they have really helped take us to the next level because we're seeing and learning and educating, and we're right. And we're sitting there learning as much as everyone else. We're putting it into practice, right?
Yeah.
And we're trying, but the alignment with others, I think, is incredibly powerful because our leaders are getting to talk with other leaders who are doing their same job. So they're not just talking to inside of Greenworks, right? They're getting to talk with others and share
that is
best
amazing.
practices.
That's awesome to hear.
And it's tremendously helped us. They have been phenomenal.
So absolutely. And one more question I have is, like, anyone who's listening to this right now, go to www.greenworksinspections.com and check out Harmony's website. You'll learn a lot here, but I think you'll learn about what the future of the home inspection industry is going to be. And I've heard a lot of people say this, that you're no longer just a home inspection company. You're a home service company, right? You're really focusing on the whole house. So Harmony, I just want to ask you a little bit about that.
Sure.
Like, I see on your website, I'm looking at it right now, on your scope of services, it is a wide scope. And I'm wondering, what did you see in the industry that made you say, all right, this is the future of the industry?
Again, I'd love to continue to take credit that I'm just this like knowledgeable, all-knowing kind of person who like just gets it, but I'm listening. I wish I could make it so. I want to make it so simple. I am just listening. Where are the needs, right? Like if there's a need in the market for something and it's not being fulfilled, someone's going to fulfill it. Like that's where that's where greatness is, right? It's always in serving a need. Like, where did Airbnb and Vrbo come from? Why? There were hotels for us to stay in when we traveled. So how did that work so well? Well, they were listening, right? People wanted more options, and come to find out they had a proof of concept. I think it's the same thing here, right? Where we're looking at ourselves as inspectors and we're saying, oh, well, this is all that we can be, but it's not true. It's not true. Like what we are as inspectors has already transformed in just a short amount of time, right? From a clipboard, a flashlight, and a 30-minute walk around the house, which is kind of where inspections began, to now these inspections have gotten incredibly advanced, right? But that's going to continue. And I think that us approaching ourselves as home service professionals who really, we're not the individual expert over the individual system. No, we are generalists. I understand that. But what are people really asking you? If you really pay attention to their questions after the inspection, everyone's clients are asking some of the same things. They want to know what it costs to fix. You're doing a good job of telling them, hey, this is broken and needs to be fixed. Okay, awesome. But what does it cost me and who can do it? So if that question is constantly coming up, how long? Someone's going to solve that. Let's be clear. It's either going to get solved in our industry or it's going to get solved outside of our industry. And I find it to be exactly. I find it to be a personal threat for us not to solve the problem ourselves, because someone's going to solve it. So if our industry doesn't solve it, some other industry will. Well, if they go do it, now they're going to get all the money. I want to see our industry grow from the $3 billion industry that it is to the $5, $6, $10 billion industry that I know it can be over the next 10 years. And that's going to be from us starting to say, why don't we take care of our clients as much as we can, keep all of this in-house, right?
Yeah.
And just be able to be the go-to.
I love that.
Because it could just be as simple
you're right on the money.
And that's where we're trying to
That is exactly where the industry's headed. And we see it. I mean, it's crazy. You have these big companies that are coming in like a Porch that are trying to do that for us. And they don't do as good a job as we could do in-house, and really control that customer experience. So I love what you're saying. And guys, if you are hearing that, rewind that last minute and listen to it again, because you really need to start becoming that home services company if you're not trying to already. It's not just an inspection anymore. So I love that. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time here. We really appreciate having you. I think this has been one of the most impactful episodes for our listeners. And you're just such a great person and a great leader, and you have so much valuable insight. And I know it's not all you. I know you've had great mentors along the way, but we really appreciate you being here and sharing with us your story and your company with us. So thank you so much, Harmony.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. It's been so great being here with y'all. And hey, hook up with me on Facebook. Let's be friends. Harmony Brown Greenworks.
Awesome.
I'd love to chat and continue conversations with y'all. Just mention that you heard me here.
Thank you so much, Harmony. Thank you for bringing such a valuable and fresh perspective to our podcast and to the industry. We really appreciate it. Thank you to our audience for tuning in, and stay tuned. We have some great guests coming up. Our list does not end. It just keeps getting better and better. I mean, Harmony, you are a fantastic guest, and I'm so happy that we could bring you to our audience. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much,
awesome.
guys, for having me.
That was great.
Thanks for listening to the Inspection Pro Joe podcast. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell so you won't miss our next episode. This episode was produced by Jake Aronson. This has been a Pair Payments production.